Hello, my name is Dean Cutler with Construction Ready. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to build this simple sprinkler project that will enhance your students' math skills. To complete this project, you will need 2 1/2-inch 45-degree angle elbows. You will need 4 1/2-inch PVC tees. You will need 3 90-degree 1/2-inch PVC elbows, 2 1/2-inch male adapters, 1 1/2-inch hose bib connector, 1 sprinkler head, and approximately 5 foot of 1/2-inch PVC pipe. The student instructional guide will be linked in the description below. In this guide, it includes the instructions for the students to build it, where they will complete a material list, and there's a scoring rubric also at the end. Within this packet, the student will be required to draw out the project, label it, and determine the lengths of the pipe. I will now demonstrate the method to determine the length of each piece of pipe for this project. First, we will take a piece of PVC pipe, insert it as far as it will go inside one of the fittings, and mark. This fitting requires the pipe to go in there 3/4 of an inch. We'll use that number to determine the length of our pipe. Using 2 rulers laid out like I do, we set one elbow here, the back of the elbow is on 0 on the end of the ruler. For pipe F, which we're determining first, the length is 16 inches. The second elbow goes at 16 inches at the back side. We take the top ruler, we set to the inside dimension at 0. We measure on the inside of this one, and it is 12.5 inches. So if the pipe goes inside this fitting 3/4 of an inch, and goes inside of this fitting 3/4 of an inch, if we add those 2 fractions together, it gives us 1.5 inches. We add that to the 12.5 to give us a total length of 14 inches. Therefore, pipe F is 14 inches and pipe A is 14 inches. Now we're going to determine the length of pipe B, D, C, and F, which all 4 will be the same length. Notice how this side of the project is 12 inches. We'll leave this elbow at 0. We'll slide this one to 12. We'll set our T at the center. So half of 12 is 6 inches. We'll now measure between these 2 fittings. It gives us 3 inches. 3 plus the 1.5 inches, the 3/4 for the pipe going in this fitting. The pipe goes into this fitting 3/4, which is 1.5 inches. So pipe B, D, C, and F are 4.5 inches. Using our ratchet cutter, we will now cut our pipe to the proper length. 4.5 inches. I will now label this part B. Now that I have all these pieces of pipe cut, I have assembled it as laid out of the drawing. Pipe A, F, B, C, D, E. We will now determine the lengths of the raised section of the sprinkler. Next, we're going to determine the length of pipe G and pipe J. This is going to require a little bit of math. So if you notice from our dimensions, the rise of our project is 4 inches. Therefore, we need some information. So to determine the length of those pipes, the 4-inch rise multiplied times 1.141. The reason you're multiplying times 1.141 is determining the length of that pipe that's run at an angle. So by multiplying these numbers, it gives you 5.656. Now we must convert that to a fraction, which gives us 5 5/8. Looking at our fittings, that 4 inches is measured to the center of this fitting. We have to subtract the distance from the center of the fitting to how far the pipe goes in to the fitting. This is it's a 1/4 inch on the 45-degree angle. On the T, we have to subtract 1 inch. So the 5 5/8 for the total length of the pipe minus the 1 inch gives us 4 5/8. We take the 4 5/8 and we subtract the 1/4 inch for the 45-degree angle. It gives us a total length of 4 3/8 inches. Therefore, we will cut pipe G 4 3/8 and pipe J 4 3/8. Now that we've installed pipe G and J with the 45-degree elbows, we now must determine the length of pipe H and I. We'll do that by measuring between the face of the fittings, which is 7 inches. We'll now determine the length of pipe H and I. We've set the 45-degree elbows up The face of this one is at 0, this one is at 7. We'll set the T at 3.5, which is halfway point. We'll measure between the two, which is 2 1/4. 2 1/4 plus 1.5 is 3 3/4 inches. So pipe H and I is 3 3/4 inches. Now that we've cut and installed the last two pieces of pipe, we'll now add the male adapter for the top and the male adapter for the side. The sprinkler connects at the top. The hose connector connects here. We have now completed our sprinkler project.